price is king, it's where we belong. Stay with the dream, don't lose your way. Right way's the fire that'll light the day. Keep it simple, let the moment arrive. 3-8 trap keeps the hope alive. Hold on tight till the signal's near. Right way's the trail, we're breaking through fear.
Good morning, traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for July 21st, 2025. Well, I hope everyone had a great weekend, ready for a busy week with a couple of big tech reports coming this week, likely to inspire some volatility in the market. I am running this morning kind of limping, and I apologize that it's probably going to be a little bit late. TC2000 has been down, and I've got it back up here, but it seems to be struggling and somewhat limited, so could be a shorter video as we move through here this morning, but I wanted to get something out. First off, let's take a look at what happened overnight here. First, Asian markets here overnight, a little bit of mix in overnight. We've got Australian markets down 89 points at 1.02% lower. Hong Kong was up 168.48. That's 0.68%. South Korea was up 22.74, 0.71%. The Nikkei was lower last night, down 82.08 at negative 0.21%. We saw India up 122.30. That's 0.49%, and Shanghai was up by 25.31 at 0.72%. Now, if we take a look at what we've got going in European markets this morning, they're right across the board here this morning. We've got the DAX down 52.05 at 0.21% lower. FTSE $7.94 lower, 0.09%. And the CAC is down 40.52, 0.52% lower. U.S. futures, however, we're pumping to the upside like normal. We've got U.S. futures in the Dow up 89 points exactly at the moment. S&P 500 futures $15.15 higher, and NASDAQ futures up 64.75 this morning. If we take a look at bond prices are just inching just ever so slightly lower here this morning. 2-year bond coming in at 3.84%. We've got the 10-year bond at 4.38%, and the 30-year is at 4.95%. If we take a look at what's happening here with the U.S. dollar is a little bit lower here this morning. Dollar down about 26 cents here this morning. So we'll want to keep an eye on that. And as that occurs, that is having some knock-on effects with precious metals. We've got gold here this morning. Looks like I'm not going to get gold to come up. Right now, gold... there we go. Gold is just a tiny little bit higher. We've got gold futures up $14.50 an ounce. We've got silver here this morning. Silver futures are up 39.5 an ounce at 38.86 an ounce. Gold is at $3,372 an ounce here this morning. If we take a look at copper, copper's a little bit higher here this morning. We've got COPX trying to come up. By the way, these charts are absolutely naked in here. We're not getting, their server isn't producing anything out there, any of the drawings or anything that I've had here on the chart. So forgive me, I'm doing the best I can here this morning. But you can see COPX trying to make that move on Friday, just a tiny little bit higher today. But you can see it's a down from yesterday or Friday. If we take a look at FCX moving just a little bit higher here this morning. Copper mining. We've got platinum up $8 and $8 an ounce, or 0.55%, and palladium is just a tiny little bit lower after just an amazing run to the upside. A little bit of bearishness coming in there on Friday, pulling it back. A good old dark cloud cover in there. Right now down $3.50 an ounce at 0.27%. If we take a look at oil here this morning, we've got our producers here kind of flat here this morning. And if we take a look at USO just a little bit lower right now. Oil futures down 12.5 cents at 65.92 a barrel. Brent crude is also coming in a little bit lower, down 69.11 a barrel. And we're also seeing natural gas getting a pretty substantial pullback after we had run up nicely here in natural gas, falling this morning by 20 cents. So pretty substantial pullback in nat gas this morning. Last but not least, let's take a look at those cryptos. We've got cryptos coming in right now. Bitcoin is up 183.30 a coin, or 0.15%. And that Ether just continuing that straight up run here, parabolic run to the upside. 49.20 per coin up this morning, or 1.28%. We do have a little bit of mix in the cryptos here this morning, with Dogecoin actually a little bit lower here today. Let's take a look at our index charts and see if we can figure out how we might want to approach the market for today. But how about we settle in and let's buckle up and let's get ready for the Monday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thanks so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Let's take a look at these index charts, see if we can figure out how we might want to approach the market for today. I don't know why the diamonds is actually showing my drawings on here, but nothing else is at the moment. So we'll get through this the best we can. Taking a look here at the market, obviously some selling in there on Friday, but really there was no panic. And if you remember, I suggested that if we were to pull back, if the bears have anything to say, what was going to be critical is if we held this area price support. Remember, we still have that nice little bullish morning star pattern in here. Then that pullback on Friday really didn't hurt anything at all in the chart. There really wasn't any panic in that. And if the bulls can continue to follow through to the upside, then I think there is that possibility that we can stretch back up and retest this resistance here in the chart. Pushing beyond that, then we can push right on up into this area. And with the big tech earnings reports this week, that is certainly a possibility. Now, if the bears have anything to say, we will take a look right here and see if we can get a retest of this support area here in the chart. And then the next area of support would be down here, testing these recent lows. So watch that carefully. Beyond that point, we might start feeling a little bit of pressure in the market if those bears were to really get going. Now, if we take a look at our SPY, dadgummit. There we go. We finally got the SPY to come up. Taking a look at the SPY, if the bulls can continue to push through to the upside, keep an eye on this break to new record highs and blue sky above in the SPY. Definitely seems possible And with all of the hype on and anticipation of big tech reports, you can certainly see that possibility. More blue sky above in the chart. The bullish trend continues here in the SPY, and there's nothing in this chart that's bearish at the moment. But if the bears were to follow through, we saw that little teeny tiny pullback there on Friday. We ended up closing right up here near the top of the candle of Thursday. So we still have that beautiful little morning star pattern in here. But if the bears were to say anything, maybe a pushback in here to test that support right in here. And beyond that point, of course, was where a little bit of concern might come in. But we've still got really good support here in the SPY. I doubt I can bring up any moving averages here in the chart. Well, nope, it did come up. I've got some moving averages in here. One thing you want to be aware of is that we're still overextended here in the short term. Now, if we take a look at our QQQ is also stretched to the upside here, and still very, very bullish. If the bulls can continue to follow through here on the day, then we'll look for a retest of these highs of Friday, and every reason to believe that's possible. If the bears, remember that's blue sky above there in the chart. If the bears were to have anything to say, maybe a pushback to retest that high here, and then beyond that point, we'll start moving through some of this progression in here if the bears were to have any kind of attack in tech. And I got to tell you, I just really doubt it with big tech earnings reports coming up. There's so much anticipation. I think we'll continue to stretch to the upside. Now, IWM might be a little bit bigger question in here, more of a dark cloud cover pattern, even a bearish piercing pattern here on IWM. We're struggling with this resistance here in the chart, trying to gap up, and we are still in a bullish pattern here to the upside overall. So if the bulls can find that inspiration and continue to push on up, then let's look for some retests of these levels up here to see if we can break on through pushing on up. And I do think that is possible. If, however, if the bears were to have anything to say here on the day and push this back down, a little test of Friday's low might be possible. Beyond that, we would probably raise a little bit of concern because we might challenge this morning star pattern to see whether or not that's valid if we were to start pushing back down through some of these areas of the chart. Let's take a look at our VIX, assuming the VIX is going to work. Slow. Let's see if it comes up. What we have been seeing in the VIX, though, there we go, finally, a little bit of a pullback here in the VIX. There really has been no fear here in the market, even though we had that selling in the Dow and IWM on Friday. QQQ and SPY dominate the market, and as long as big tech continues to look good, I don't think we're going to have any fear. If we start to see some of those big tech giants stumble, however, that's where we might get a little bit of fear, but nothing here so far on the VIX. If we take a look at our T20s, let's see if they work. T21-22, quite a bit of volatility here just recently. We pulled back so hard. We're still ignoring the tariff threats coming up here on August 1st, trying to, well, we're just assuming that there's going to be deals made, that there's going to be a back off by the president, but it doesn't look that way. So if deals aren't done, expect those tariffs to go into place. Right now, if the bulls have any inspiration here in the day and can continue this morning, well, notice up here, there's 100%. We can't go beyond 100%. That's that upside opportunity in there. And if the bears have anything to say, this is the downside opportunity. Can't go any further than zero. So just keeping in mind, we have more space for the bears to move down, but with the enthusiasm of the market, I'm going to expect that we're going to continue that run to the upside. If we take a look at our T2108, the percentage of stocks above the 40-day moving average. I don't know if we're going to get it. Give it a second here. There we go. You can see we're kind of trapped between ranges here in the chart. We've got there's 50% of the stocks, and we've got 60% of the stocks right here. The gap up this morning, the push this morning, might break us through this area, and then we would stretch back up here toward that resistance of 70% of the stocks back above. You want to keep in mind we've got this little downtrend going on in here. So if the bears do have anything to say and we were to follow that downtrend, we could move a little bit lower here. But again, as we wait and anticipate for those big tech reports, it seems to me like the enthusiasm could easily push us higher. Now on T2107, if we take a look at that, we've got some resistance here in the chart up there about 45%, but we're holding a good upside trend in here. So if we can push good and hard, I think there's that possibility we could push through that 45%, and then we would start looking up here toward that 50% area. We've got some good resistance in there on that. If the bears were to have anything to say, maybe a pushback here to test this upside trend, and we've got this good area of support right around the 40s, just below 40 would be a pretty good support level in the chart. And then T2101, this is where the big problem with the market resides. We haven't been getting a lot of breadth here in the market. That may continue because we continue to be in the blackout period here. What we don't want to see is we don't want to see a big bullish push to the upside on lack of breadth again. That continues to show us that weakness and opens up the door for the whipsaw. So watch that carefully. If breadth continues to fall as we rally, be really careful chasing stocks that are already very extended to the upside. The whipsaws could be substantial. Let's take a look at we might be getting a little bit more life here in TC2000. Let's take a look at our economic calendar here for today. And our economic calendar, pretty light day here. I've got to fix this so you guys can see it. All of this uncertainty with TC2000. It looks like I wasn't quite ready here. So we've got a very light day here on the economic calendar with just a 3-month and a 6-month bond auction. Tomorrow, about the only thing that's going to be majorly notable is Jerome Powell will be speaking in here. And then we're going to be hitting those some of those big tech reports. I think Google is on a Tuesday. Wednesday, mortgage applications, existing home sales, petroleum status. Thursday, normal jobless claims. We've got PMI flash. We've got new home sales coming in there. And on Friday, durable goods orders, probably the most notable economic report for the week in here coming on Friday. So pretty light week on that economic calendar. That's going to mean that we could really drive things and get things going here pretty substantially in the earnings calendar. And here is our notable earnings for today. We've got Verizon this morning, Domino's, Cleveland Cliffs, and Roper in here. This afternoon is where we're going to start picking up with a few more reports. So pause the video, grab a screenshot of that if you have an interest in that. We'll look really quickly to see if we can get any evidence. Verizon getting a nice pop here this morning on its report, looking pretty good. If we take Domino's feeling bullish here this morning. Cleveland, nice little pop here this morning. I'm not sure the report has come in, but this has been a very bullish pattern here in steel. Keep an eye on that, particularly if we continue to see the dollar weaken. And then if we take a look, Roper here, maybe just a little bit of uncertainty on that report here this morning. Let's take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, guys, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you can please click that subscribe button on YouTube and also click that bell icon. When it pops up, you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor, click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel to continue to grow. Thank you so much for everyone who does take the time to do that. Well, guys, when it comes to stock setting up this morning, there are, I'm struggling in here because none of my scans, none of my lists are working here in TC2000 this morning, at least at the moment. Hopefully that will be coming along here soon, but things like Bell, take a look. Oh boy, that's not the ticker. Sorry guys, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do much in here on these. Take a look at American Airlines. That's setting up pretty good in here. Nice little upside move. Keep an eye on that pushing through. If you take a look at airlines, if you take a look at anything in the cruise industry, looking really good on CCL, RCL, Norwegian Cruise Lines looking good as well. I would keep an eye on those. If you take a look at some of these industrials in here, Boeing is still looking very good, setting up in a very, very bullish pattern here overall. Caterpillar has been really strong, moving to the upside. 3M now, after its earnings here, 3M really fell apart, breaking down. So we do have some of these old boring companies that might be stumbling here a little bit, so keep an eye on those. PepsiCo continuing to look good after its big gap up on earnings. I think if this just kind of consolidates and rests a little bit, I'd be watching for that opportunity there in PepsiCo. That's looking pretty darn good. If you take a look at TWLO looking pretty good in there. Nice upside stretch, a little rest or pullback sets up an opportunity. We've got Shopify. That's looking really good in here. Any little rest or pullback sets up an opportunity there. Been noticing some energy here in Abercrombie pushing to the upside. Certainly worth paying attention to that. A little bit of rest or pullback in here. While at the same time, we're seeing not the best patterns here in like Costco, looking like this short could continue to the downside here in Costco. Walmart also showing just a little bit of a bearish pattern, that little consolidating, resting pattern, not finding that inspiration in the market, trying to get back through that resistance. It wouldn't take much to push that off over the edge right there. So yeah, keep an eye on that. When we take a look at some of these drug makers, we really started to show some bullishness in these drug makers, but then Merck coming all the way back here to this trend, and it's really questionable here at the moment whether we're going to find any bullish push in there. So be a little bit careful with some of those. But a lot of those drug companies had a really good stretch and then kind of fell all apart, so watch that closely. Boy, I got to tell you, what's going on in uranium continues to look really good. UEC is something I hold, so please keep in mind I have a bias on this. But if this rests, if this consolidates a little bit in here, I would be looking for that opportunity. And you can see that bullishness in any of the uranium type plays out there. Really showing lots of strength in uranium, so kind of keep an eye on those. Speaking of anything in energy, BTU continues to be a bullish chart, although we pulled back a little bit on Friday. That pop in here looking good. Again, I own this. I have a really nice profit in this. Little resting pullback in here would set up that next opportunity in that. Take a look at like XYZ. XYZ had a great day on Friday, pushing up through here. Again, this is something I own, but so I'm biased on this, but you'll want to watch that carefully here. We're coming into some resistance, so a little bit of caution is probably warranted in there. I wouldn't chase it to the upside. A little rest or pullback in there might set up an opportunity there. So these are just the stocks coming out of off the top of my head here this morning. We'll want to be really, there's a lot more in here, but with TC2000 in so much trouble here this morning, I'm going to call this lucky that we got this far. Let's take a look just a little bit further here in the financial sector. XLF continuing to look good in here. We're trying to break out of this resistance here in the chart. Those financials have been doing quite well, and we had a recent nice little push here back to the upside. So if we can continue that move, I'd keep an eye on some of those financials. And pay systems, however, doing just a little bit of bearish activity in here. If you take a look at Visa, that could be setting up short. So with that, everyone, hey, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. I want to wish you great results in your trading. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for putting up with the degraded system here today with TC2000 struggling so much this morning. Hopefully when I reboot this, it will come right back up and be fully operational. Y'all take care, be safe, and I'll see you right back here bright and early Tuesday morning. Wish you all the best.
Black and white candles, my stars in the dark. Price is my king, got that fire and spark. Rideways my ranch on the trader's trail. Trading with heart where the profits prevail.